Hey everybody, it's Mr. Bierbauer. This week we're going to be learning about another element of art, which is going to be texture. We're going to be making texture collages. So the materials you will need today is at least 2 pieces of paper. Crayons or colored pencils will work the best. You'll need a glue stick, or tape. And then we need to make sure we get some items with different textures, like bumpy, rough, smooth, and so on. If you want to go on and pause now to collect those, you can. Otherwise, before the demonstration. All right, we're going to start every class with our artist promise. As artists, we will always try our best, respect ourselves, our friends, and our artwork, take responsibility, imagine new things, support each other, and take time to clean up. Today, our I can statement is I can use texture rubbings to create an original collage. And here are 3 examples that I did. Now, if you'll remember, we've been talking about our elements of art. So far, we've talked about line, color, and today we're going to be focusing on texture. Texture is how something feels or looks like it feels. So if you look over here at the first picture, that's a pattern of a real brick wall. If you went up and put your hand on that wall, you would feel the real texture, how it really feels. It would be rough and bumpy. The next picture is a drawing. The artist used implied texture, which means it makes it look like how it feels. So it looks like it would feel rough, but if you really touched it, it would just be a flat paper. So what kind of textures can you describe? There are all sorts of different kinds. Let's see, here's some examples. So we have a fuzzy tennis ball, a hard pool ball, we've got fluffy, squishy, woven, that's a neat one, rough, slimy, pointy, smooth, and hairy, and I'm sure we thought of some other ones too. Anybody want to guess what textures these are? These are some texture rubbings, which I did, and I will show you more on how we do that in the demonstration. All right, so let's see. This first one here was the front of my computer. This one was the wall in my office. It's kind of hidden, but this is the back of a bookshelf. And what about this one? Yep, you're right, it's a basketball. I got one more page. Oh, that one went too fast, but there's a shoe. This one over here is a sports equipment bag. Hopefully we can see what this one is, but it's a leaf. And then this one, again from my office, was from a metal tray, which I keep papers in. So now we're going to watch the demonstration of how you can do your texture rubbings collage. If you haven't already collected your texture items, now would be a great time to do it. All right, everybody. So for today's art lesson, we are doing texture collages. That means we are going to be collecting different textures from objects around our houses. We will be using scissors to cut them out, and then glue or tape to form them into a collage or a picture. Afterwards, as you can see, you can add extra details too. So let me show you 3 quick examples that I did, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. So with this one, I did a landscape scene. You can see I have bumpy textures on my trees, and those were from the wall here at school. I have a neat pattern down here on my house, and that was from a wire paper rack, like this. You can also see I went in with crayons and markers and just added some additional details after I was done. This one here is just a really short, small ocean scene with some boats and some little clouds. That's the wall texture again. This texture was from the front of my computer. This is more of that wire rack texture for the water. And then down here for the fish, this is actually the texture of a leaf. And then again, I added details with crayons and pen. And then here is a cat that I made. The cat's face, you may recognize, that's actually from a basketball texture. And then the flower over here was from the back of a bookshelf. So, you have a lot of options. Now the materials you're going to need to go around and find some different textured items, either small ones like this with different textures, so when you feel them, you can feel, like this one is bumpy. You may also be able to use some bigger things. Like I said, I used the wall, and I just took my paper over there and went to the wall instead of bringing the wall to me. You'll also need crayons, are the best for this, especially if you have some old ones. You can take the paper off a little bit like that to give you more surface area. You can also do this with colored pencils. It doesn't work as well with markers, but sometimes markers can work too. Then you will need some scissors, make sure we're being safe, and glue, or if you don't have glue, you can use tape. Now, I'm going to show you kind of quickly how to do a little texture rubbing. So you will put your object underneath the paper, or if it's the wall or something else, you could hold it up against it. And then you'll take your pencil or crayon and just rub really nice on there. Sometimes the harder you rub, the easier it is to see all the details. You can see, I know this is a heart, so I'm going to rub all the way right up to the edge. You could also use the tip, or with a colored pencil you could use that as well. Just you cover more at a time, and sometimes you get a more even cover with that. So here are a few of the different ones I've done. You can see I did that hard a couple times testing it out. These are from the edge of a paper plate. These are some more wires from my tray. Here's some other ones I've already been using. That was from the back of that shelf that that flower was from. So you just want to make sure you have a bunch of different kinds of textures and a lot of different kinds of colors. You can just fill up one paper if you want. I was trying several different things, so I used multiple papers. Then after that, all you're going to do is you're going to go in and we're going to cut out shapes out of our patterns. These could be geometric shapes like squares, circles, rectangles, triangles. So like maybe I just want a square, or maybe I'll cut the square into 2 triangles. You could do more freeform or organic shapes, like a little cloud. That one was very small, so it's hard to see, but here's another one. And you may want to start out by just cutting out the block or the area of that texture, and then you can cut into it. So maybe like a big wiggle. And you can think, if you already have an idea of what you want to do, you can make sure you're cutting shapes out that would work for that. If you don't know what you want to do, you can always cut shapes out and then use them and plan something out. Okay. So here are some different shapes. Cut as many as you want. Just make sure you're showing off a lot of your different patterns. I'm going to keep working on the one that I was doing of the boat, but you guys will be working from the beginning. So the first thing you want to do is just kind of arrange your shapes out on your paper and see if anything reaches out to you. Like maybe putting these out, when I put my triangles out originally, I thought they looked kind of like boats, so maybe I could do another boat here. Or, oh, I could add maybe to the side of these boats. So I'm going to do some skinnier triangles. So whatever you want to do, just make sure you're cutting out. Make sure you're being very careful with your scissors. Remember, if you have to stand up and walk around with your scissors, the best way to hold them is like this, where you're covering the blade in your hand, so you're making sure it stays shut. If you're handing your scissors to someone else, hand them that way, and that person can take them by the handle. That way you are controlling the blade. Now, once we get some cut out, we're going to get our glue. And then, remember, you're just going to put a small layer of glue on the back of your objects. So with the purple, it's really easy to see what's covered. And I just want to make sure I get to the corners of my object, of this triangle, and then I want to put it in place. If you're using white glue, just be very careful that you're not using too much. And if you're using tape, it shouldn't be too hard. So there we go. Now I see I've got 2 sails on this boat. But now my boat looks like it's too small, so I'm going to use my crayon and make it longer, and then maybe make another little thing for the sails to sit on. You can use a combination of your textures with your collage, and then other materials too, like with my crayons or my colored pencils here. This one you do have more of a mess left over, so you've got to make sure we clean up just like we always do. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of these away, but 3 examples of texture collages. Remember, you're going to collect your textures, and then you are going to cut out your pieces. They can be geometric shapes like squares or triangles, organic shapes like these cloud shapes or these long wavy lines. And then you're going to arrange them on your paper and then glue them down and finish your paper with some decorations. And make sure, always put your name on your paper. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you next time. All right, let's just review those steps. Remember, you're going to collect your textures and make rubbings of your items. You may have to go around with your paper and make some rubbings in different locations, like if you want to do a wall or a tree bark. Otherwise, you can collect your items and do the rubbings there. After that, you're going to cut out your shapes. Remember, you can do geometric shapes or organic shapes. You're going to plan your collage and glue it down, and then go in with your pencils or crayons or whatever you want to use and add some details. And then make sure to show off your work to whoever's at home and submit it on Canvas. All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a great week.